What's up, everybody? It is Monday, December 16th, and today we are talking all about being a gigging musician. My name is Corey Evans, and I am not a rock star. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to Not a Rock Star with Corey Evans. I am your host, Corey Evans, and we have a great episode lined up today. I will be talking to Mr. Matt Basler. Now, Matt Basler is a musician from the Marion, Illinois area. I met Matt probably about 7 years ago, around the time that I quit my job and started playing more in the Southern Illinois area. And at first, I would hear his name all the time. People would ask me, "Do you know Matt Basler?" I would see his name on, flyers and billboards, and I just heard a lot about him. So I thought, well, hey, this is going to be one of the guys up here, and we're going to be in competition with each other. And when I finally met him, nothing could be further from the truth. He was a total bro, and he is one of those guys that immediately I knew was my friend. Matt is a very lively and wiry guy. He is very passionate, and that really comes through in his friendships and also his live performances. So I'm pumped about this discussion today. I think it's going to be very entertaining. Matt's going to have a lot of anecdotes for us. But like I said, great friend, very, very talented musician and great performer. Matt's been in a number of bands. He's been doing solo stuff for a long time, so he's got tons of stories about both. And my favorite thing about Matt is what I just touched on. He is not a guy to try to compete. He is a guy to collaborate. And he's always trying to find ways to help all of the other musicians in this area. And he is one of the few people that really puts his money where his mouth is. He backs up the things he says, and he goes out of his way to help everyone. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Basler. All right, well, would you like to introduce yourself to the fine people?
Yeah, hi. I'm Matt Basler. I'm from Marion, Illinois. I'm a Libra. I enjoy chocolate and a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, thank you for this.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention, we are in Herrin right now, and we will be in Marion, which is why Matt and I purchased things from this company. If we were in Paducah, we would have gotten Etc. Coffee House, which is the best coffee on the planet. Do want to mention that. But
I would have liked that. I've never had that.
Oh, dude, when you come down, we'll go.
Absolutely. Let's do that. It's a date.
All right.
It'll be our second date.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. So let's just come in hot here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me about the most annoying thing you have to deal with as a performer? It can be an audience member. It can be a bad experience with a venue. It could be like a theme, something that recurs.
Okay.
What do you got for me?
Some of the most annoying things I have to deal with at times. Drunkards is definitely a thing. People who are insanely intoxicated, getting near and around my equipment or around me, falling into my equipment. I had somebody fall into my tip case the other day, that was pretty funny. She wasn't that drunk, but I did inform her that once you're in the tip case, that's it. You have to remain in the tip case, and that, that's just the way it goes. Also, I would say, which I'm totally joking. Also, I would say wobbly chairs, because I like to sit when I play a lot, and a lot of chairs in different venues don't have all the four legs the same length. So I kind of. You kind of like wobble a little bit when you do it. That's kind of an annoyance. People who shout out almost in a demanding format of what songs I should play, and then almost seem offended if I don't know them. That's kind of annoying. Other than that, man, I really don't have any qualms. I'm really lucky to get to do the job that I've always wanted to do as my occupation, and then I finally jumped out and was just like, I'm just going to do it. know, I was like, I'm not cutting hair anymore. I'm not serving any more tables. I'm just gonna chase the dream.
Hold up,
Like
you were a barber?
Well, I was a cosmetologist, actually. Yeah, I went to cosmetology school at John A. Logan. Graduated as a cosmetologist. Well, I got my license. Didn't really graduate, but got my associate's degree there and got my license for cosmetology. Worked actually up here at Hairbangers Salon and Spa. That's my Aunt Nancy and my mom Michelle. They opened the salon together. Yeah, I worked at that salon for like 6 years, dude.
Have you ever told me that?
I don't think so.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
Why have I been
pedicures.
paying for haircuts?
I know, right? Manicures, pedicures, haircuts, colors, wax. I did all that stuff. Yeah, actually just did my wife's manicure and pedicure before our anniversary just recently, so her nails look cute for our little vacation.
Well, dude, let's go back to the beginning. I have known you probably like 7 years, so obviously I've just known you since you've been a performer and you have a reputation. People know you around here, but you clearly got started at some point. Yeah. At what age did you realize I'm going to do that, and how did that evolve? What was your first instrument? Can you take me through your beginning?
My grandma would say that I knew I was going to be in music and be rocking at the age of like 2 or 3. She's got videos of me playing air guitar pretty hard and jumping off the couch for probably a good 20-minute video of me doing the same thing over and over again, like just jumping off the couch and playing air guitar and landing and standing back up and still melting faces with that air guitar and different things, you know, wiffle ball bats, brooms, things like that throughout my youth. So I kind of always had rocking in my blood, you know what I'm saying? I'm a rocker through and through, bro, just like Joe Dirt. And I guess it wasn't until around 16 that my cousin Robbie, Clark Stokes, who is the principal at Thomas Elementary in Carbondale. Shout out to Robbie.
What's up, Robbie?
He started playing guitar. His dad, his father, Robbie Stokes, Sr., was a guitarist as well, a phenomenal guitarist, and he was super successful in the music world. I could go on and on about that, but I'll leave it at that, and you guys can look him up. Robbie Stokes, rest in peace. And anyway, he started playing guitar, which me and Robbie were like brothers, even though we were cousins. And so when he started playing guitar, I'm like, well, I'm going to start playing guitar too, you know? So he started playing guitar, I started playing guitar. After a while, we started forming bands. Started playing guitar, was singing too, and like backup vocals, some lead vocals, and was self-taught in all of this as well. So, you know, there was a heavy learning curve throughout my time of doing this craft, this profession. So yeah, that was really how it all began, was right there.
So how old were you when you started playing guitar, and then how old were you when you guys started forming your own bands?
I would say I probably started playing guitar around like 13, 14, and then we started playing in bands around 16. Started playing out and about in bands. And dude, my first guitar that I was using was a acoustic electric. So it was like a slim body acoustic electric. I think it was an Ibanez. I still got the guitar, but I used to plug that in and use that as my full guitar, like full distortion on it and everything. It was ridiculous.
So you were like trying to play like the Crazy Train riff.
Oh, dude.
And did you have like the Boss distortion pedal?
Yes.
Like the orange one was a DS1,
oh,
is that what it is?
Dude, I had this like old little like V amp. It was like a V amp. It was shaped in like it was a blue old like just single pedal thing, and you would click it and it had a ton of different effects on it. And that was what I was using to gig out with. That and an FM 212 Fender amplifier, which is a pretty sweet amplifier. I liked it.
Yeah, I look back now. So I started very similar, like 13 is when I really started playing guitar, but I was already in a band. So I grew up Pentecostal, and we, me and my boys from church, we had started like a contemporary Christian rock band, but I played piano. And I was like 11, we were little kids, but we started playing in church around that age. And then around 13, 14, we started getting some like shows.
Yeah.
But
that was Switchfoot, right? You were that was your band. That was your
I wasn't gonna say that because I didn't want. I don't like to like throw that out there.
Right.
I want people to just think of me as a regular guy.
Right.
It's really the only reason I drive around in a minivan. I don't want people to know that I have money.
It's hard to be regular when you're
It's hard
in
to hide money.
Yeah.
I know.
And then to go from then to POD is like,
well,
bro, you're living it.
What does help with my time in POD though is I don't have the locks anymore, and so since I just have this
blend in.
puddle of mud lead singer type hair.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, so we were doing
do that Nirvana cover again.
Yeah, we were. Oh God, yeah. So we were just doing our thing in church, and then I just showed up one day to like our practice or whatever we called it. We're like 13. I just showed up with this guitar and I was like, yeah, I play guitar now. But I actually didn't. Like, I was learning in real time.
Nice.
But within a year, when I was like 8th grade, that's when we really started to actually play real gigs and we were writing our own songs and stuff. But yeah, kind of the same. I look back at the equipment I was using / equipment we were using.
Yeah.
Dude, we were just getting stuff given to us by people at our church. I think at one point we had to take a vote if we were going to spend $50 on this Randall head, which was our PA basically. But like that was a big deal to us, a bunch of kids from Metropolis and Brookport. Like, do we have $50 to buy this? Dude. So yeah, I
remember those days, man. You just got to get whatever you can get. It's like awesome.
And we had old stuff because the older people at church were just like, here's a microphone, and it looked like the straight up Elvis, like old school 50s stuff.
Classic.
So our lead singer would like hold it like that.
Nice.
But yeah, man, I would the more distortion the better.
Yeah.
And so I look back now and I look at the amps I was using and I'm like, well, first of all, these all suck.
Right.
But then I would just turn the distortion knob all the way up. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so kind of like you're plugging an acoustic in and using distortion. That's how all of my stuff sounded, like ungodly amounts of distortion. Didn't sound good at all.
So bad. It was so bad. I can't believe that people let me do. I can't believe other musicians let me do that. And then also when I would solo, I would just do the high E string and I would just literally hit single notes like in the highest register that I could, and I felt like I was doing a really good job.
That's amazing. So you'd be like dun 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 dun, like
all on your yes, just so bad. I remember Robbie, not my cousin Robbie, but Uncle Robbie, telling me like, hey, why don't you do something in like, the mids? Why don't you do something like in the middle range? Like mix it up a little bit, not just use that one string. And I was like, oh, I only do it on this one string because it's all I know. I didn't know any of the other.
That's amazing.
The other.
You ever think
chord
about
progressions or solos or any of the scales or anything like that? It was super elementary.
Well, do you think of the gall that we had, like to not really know what we were doing, but like start signing up for gigs?
Yeah.
You ever think about that? Like the confidence we must have had as a teenage boy.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Yeah, that blind confidence, bro. That'll take you places. And you do kind of just gotta throw yourself into it, And I feel like so many people in society and in our world today are afraid to throw themselves into something and really just commit to something like that, or at least to give it a try due to a fear of failure or embarrassment or anything like that. And that's just not cool, man. I want to support anybody just going for it, man. Just go for it. Do you want to just keep working a job that you don't like for the rest of your life? Or do you want to go and do something that you actually are passionate about and that you can say that you're proud of, and that you look back on your life and be like, I did it, man. I wanted to do this and I went and did it. Go do it. That's the message I would tell people.
Word. And it definitely
on a podcast.
Well, it took me places back then. It took me to the Unionville Bottoms and performances on flatbed trailers. I remember one time, I don't even know why this got said to us. I was 14. I was in the 8th grade, and we were going to play for like our youth groups, like Halloween, whatever. So again, the way that always functions,
just Rob Zombie all night.
Well, no, you can't even acknowledge Halloween though. That's the thing. Like when you're in certain Christian circles, like that's a no-go. Some of them are more cool with it, but they always have like an alternative. Like we don't want kids doing typical Halloween things. Which I will say, back in the day, Unionville got down on Halloween.
Yeah.
Like there was some weird stuff, dude. Like maybe legitimate like satanic stuff. So I do understand where some of the older people in the church were coming from. Like, okay, so they planned this. I'm sure they didn't call it Halloween. It was probably called a fall festival, right? And all the kids were going to go on a hayride, and then we were all going to ride through the bottoms and then come out to somebody's campground site. And we were going to have what they called a, quote, drama, which was basically this like play where they depict people doing drugs and or having premarital sex, and then you end up going to hell. Like, that's the end of it, right?
Nice.
And then we were going to have a little concert. Like, my band was going to play like 10, 12 songs. Biggest thing in my life at the time. But for whatever reason, like, we had to go set up before everybody else made it out there. So they took me and my 3 or 4 boys in the band. They took us just by ourselves out to this campsite so we could set up before all the other kids got there.
Right.
And this older guy in our church, and I don't know why he did this, but he was like, now listen, while y'all are out here setting this stuff up, if a group of people come up on you that you don't recognize and they're dressed in all black, don't say a word to them and don't make a quick movement, because they will shoot you.
What?
And to this day, I'm like, I have no clue what he was talking about. I've never heard of anything like that going on in Unionville.
Sounds like a crazy old man.
Now with some age, I look back and I think, nice old guy, but yeah, he had some of the weirdest ideas.
Nice.
Won't say his name out of respect for him. He's still alive, but yeah, that's the places it was taking me at 14 by putting myself out there. But I completely agree with you, because now things are working out a little differently for me.
Yeah.
And it's just because I went for it.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I would tell anybody that. You just got to start doing it. What's a part of Marion that I wouldn't know about that you would?
Man, Marion, yeah, I grew up here when since I was in grade school. I went to grade school here at Lincoln Elementary. Shout out Lincoln! Best grade school in the district. And my wife works there too. She's a 5th grade teacher at Lincoln. I like Marion. Marion's always been home to me. I do feel like I went through a rough patch in my youth, being from Heron, primarily, the Basler name, coming into Marion. Went through quite a bit of getting picked on and stuff like that in my youth.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, for sure.
Because of your family?
I don't think it was probably because of my family. I think it was just because I was new to the area, and I also was a bit more like an outward kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would kind of put myself out there, I guess, to be picked on. So, yeah, I just went through a lot of that in my youth. So, but you grow from it, and through hardships, you get stronger through and whatnot. You learn through things. And, but I love Marion. It's got a cool small town vibe, even though it seems to be growing immensely here recently with the square. There's all kinds of stuff coming up on the east side and on the west side of Marion. It's growing immensely because of the interstate and whatnot. Places you might not know about in Marion, where I grew up, Spillertown. I don't know if you're familiar with Spillertown.
Man, would I have driven through Spillertown, like going from point A to point B at some point?
Probably not, unless you got lost and went through a back road, maybe. It's a very, very small community. It's called Spillertown, but I think it's still a Marion district kind of situation. But yeah, it's just like a little bitty old little neighborhood that I was raised out there. It just brings back a lot of childhood memories to me. Nobody would go there specifically to be like, oh, look, Spillertown.
Where is Spillertown?
Spillertown, you go up here to the stoplight, you could even go straight all the way down through here, and then you'd take a right into Spillertown.
That's where I've seen it. So between Johnson City and Marion, there's a turnoff.
That's right.
Okay, that's where I've seen
sign.
it.
Yep, it's just a small little town. That's maybe the only thing that maybe you wouldn't know about, maybe. But it's nothing that you should know about. It's just something you might not know about.
That's your Unionville.
Yeah.
Like the way I'm speaking of Unionville, that would be like Spillertown for you.
Right. Yep.
I gotcha. Let's back up to, you started playing as a teenager, playing in bands. You were rocking out the high E string.
Yeah.
But you have told me before that there was a very long period of time where you basically just lived a completely different life and music kind of went on the back burner. And then you made a very conscious choice at some point to get back into it. Can you take me through college and what careers you had between your teenage years and where you are now.
Dude, I've worked so many jobs. I've worked so many jobs. I worked at this Kroger, actually, up here. This Kroger.
I've been in it
Kroger.
many times.
Yeah.
Used to be open till like 1 in the morning. Now it closes at 10 or 11.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I've worked at a Kroger as a bagger, cashier, stocker. I did everything. So the first time I worked at Kroger was like one of my first jobs. I got fired for riding on the conveyor belt.
You rode on the conveyor
I rode
belt.
on the conveyor belt, yeah, because I felt like I was working like the midnight shift. That was back when Kroger was open till midnight. And yeah, there was nobody in there. And I was like, this seems like the perfect opportunity. Turns out they had cameras all over the building, and they didn't like it. They didn't like that I did that. So
You didn't
I was
break
fired.
anything, right?
No,
They
just
were
got
just
a good
like,
ride.
What's going on, Matt?
Yeah,
Like,
it
what's the
felt
deal?
like it was necessary.
No
And-
warning, nothing?
Yeah, no warning. I thoroughly suggest that if you get the opportunity to do it, you should do it, because it feels pretty awesome. So that was the first time I got fired from Kroger. But then I got a job back there again later on, and you know, that's a different situation. I was there longer that time because I didn't do anything crazy too soon. But yeah, that was like one of my jobs. Served quite a few tables. I worked as a medication delivery guy for the Calcaterras at Family Drug.
Where's that at? Is that here?
That was in Carterville.
Okay.
I was in Carterville. You know, I went to school for cosmetology. I went to school for education, elementary education, and graduated SIU, elementary education. So many times I felt like I had to have a real job in order to be able to support myself. And that was before kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was me solo. It's crazy. I could have absolutely been doing this. I should have been doing this more before I had kids. You know, but you know, I was told by, you know, everybody, like, hey man, you gotta have a real job. You can't just go and play music and think you're gonna make a living off of it. And I was like, all right. So, you know, didn't travel away from, you know, didn't leave to go to Nashville or leave to go any kind of like major music cities or anything like that, because I am like deeply rooted here with family and whatnot too. So family's a pretty important part of my life. And so yeah, just worked a lot of jobs, you know, just a lot of ins and outs, a lot of, you know, landscaping and gosh, if I went through the list, it would take too long, because if I didn't like a job, I either quit or got fired, you know. So I was just like, I'm a rolling stone, baby.
I am curious about the Kroger situation. So when you say conveyor belt, are we talking about like in the back where they're packing stuff? There's like a big, are you talking about the
front? Yeah.
So where the items come up to the cash register?
Absolutely.
You rode on that?
Yes.
Okay, what was the conversation like when you came back? So how many years had passed between the original firing and you getting hired again? And then how did you come back in and be like, listen, I've grown as a man, and it no longer appeals to me to be on the conveyor belt? I'm just curious, like, how did all that go down?
I don't even remember how I think I got the job back because it was a family friend who was then the new manager. So the old man, had it been the old manager, I probably wouldn't have been able to get back. But it was like a family friend that was the manager out there, and I was looking for a job again, and you know.
Okay, so when I met you, it was basically the time I started coming up here. So I started playing as a solo act in Paducah.
Yeah.
And entirely, that's the only place I played was at home. And then somebody had said to me, hey man, you know, like Southern Illinois has a bunch of wineries. And I'm like, well, actually, I didn't know that because I grew up Pentecostal. It's not like I would have been going to wineries, but cool.
I'm the most wanted.
Oh, at the wineries?
In the wineries,
yeah. Maybe we'll circle back to that.
I'm the winery's most wanted.
So I just started coming up here and met all the, you know, winery owners, and that was probably like 2015. And so by 2017, I had quit my job and I had started to play in all the towns around.
Yeah.
And I would hear about you and Chris Loan.
Yeah.
And so you guys were like the guys. And so I have only known you as like one of the dudes in this entire area. So the last time we had a really long conversation, you had told me a little bit about your careers, but you did not tell me the scope of all the jobs you had worked. And I had no idea you did the cosmetology thing. So that's very interesting. Can you take me through then the point in time where you were like, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm just going to take that leap. I'm going to be a full-time musician. What was that like? Was there a catalyst, or was it just like you kept thinking about it, and finally did it? Can you just take me through that?
Dude, I feel like I have these epiphanies like throughout my life. I don't know if anybody else has these feelings that you just get like an epiphany. You're just like come to this realization like, man, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. And we're all gonna die. For sure. Without a doubt. We are gonna die. And you get like this life that you get to live. And I was just like, man, I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to just play music as my job. Like, that's it. I want to do what I got to do to figure out how to make a living off of playing music. So I was cutting hair and at my aunt's salon, Hairbangers Salon and Spa. And I remember telling my Aunt Nancy, I was like, hey, I'm not gonna be doing hair anymore. I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I don't really want to do this anymore.
So it just hit you. Like you've obviously been thinking about it, but there wasn't like one bad experience where you had to cut a little kid's hair and they spit on you or something.
Right. No. The kids more is just like them moving all the time was a real pain in the butt. But yeah, most of the time kids set good for me most of the time. No, it was just like, man, I don't really enjoy this, I don't really enjoy it as much as I do playing music. And I felt like I couldn't take the time to get better at music because I was spending so much of my time doing something else.
And so at the very beginning, you were doing solo shows. How quickly did you get into 90s Kids? Was that like almost from the beginning too?
Nope. I was in several bands. I've been in several, like you can relate to this, been in many, many bands throughout the years of music. 90s Kids was actually just the most recent one because I think we were together for 5 years.
So you were doing solo stuff and playing in, you would be in a band
Various
for a while.
bands, yep.
But then the most recent band you were in was 90s Kids, which you've had a lot of success with both. So when I met you, like I said, the two biggest, at least from my perspective, the two names I always heard were you and Chris Sloan as solo artists, like solo performers. So you obviously were having a lot of success doing that, but 90s Kids had a ton of success. I mean, you guys were really big around this area too.
Well, me and Sloan were in a band too. Me and Sloan, we did an acoustic duo called Whiskey Grit.
Okay.
In which we would drink copious amounts of whiskey during our shows and just rock real hard.
And bring the grit.
Yeah. It got real gritty. And then we were in a band. I think they kind of overlapped right there. When we did our acoustic duo stuff, we also were in Hashtag Pop. Hashtag Pop was probably one of the most fun and one of the most awesome groups that I was in. Trey Ford on drums, Chris Sloan and I would swap out on bass and guitar. So some songs I would play bass, some songs he would play bass, and back and forth on guitar. And even like mid-show or like even mid-song, sometimes we would swap instruments. Like it was just
nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun, and me and Sloan would play off of each other really well on stage. Our harmonies were always like super tight. We kind of had the same kind of vibe going on as far as our stage presence and whatnot. So it was always a really good time. That was a really fun band. Was in My Patience. That was a band that I started with the drummer of 90s Kids Now, Matt Rising. He and I were in that band for like probably 5 years also. And we did a lot of covers, a lot of rock covers, and did a lot of originals. A lot of my originals from back in the day that I had written, which I still haven't recorded a lot of those. We did 3 of them. We did 3 of them on a little EP with the band title My Patience, which was cool because it wasn't so much themed like 90s Kids is. It was more of like kind of wide open. We could just do whatever we wanted to do. And so that was really cool because that allowed me an outlet to push my originals and also gave us an outlet to rock in just whatever covers that we were really down to do at that point. So I was in Party Pants for a few years. That was cool. It was a different thing too with not playing guitar while I was singing. I was just singing. I was just a hype man and singing.
Oh.
So that was cool and different.
What was that like, by the way? Like that, was that your first time just being the guy holding the mic?
Super weird. Didn't know what to do with my hands first. Probably was really weird the first couple shows because I didn't understand how to do this, how to, I don't know, how to be on stage without an instrument and just my voice being the instrument and hype manning. So that was like really good training, I feel like, for my current state. I feel like I learned a lot for doing stuff without a guitar and just trying to engage with the crowd and, you know, practicing on my crowd work. That was really cool. And also focusing on your vocals and, you know, your breathing and your projection and when to take it easy and when to go hard. Because I feel like what I used to do in my youth is I would just go hard all the time. You know what I'm saying? And then by third song, my throat's totally torn up.
Right.
You know, and I feel like a lot of with singing is managing your throat and managing how hard you're singing and how often. Which I also kind of screwed up on 90s Kids too, because I would just feel like I would just scream so much because I would get so hyped.
I was going to say, like, the crowd interaction
Yes.
that will get you there. I mean, you know that you can be as effective with the aggressive level of aggression level, I should say, of like an 8 out of 10. But man, they're pulling it out of you. So like you're turning it up to 11 out of 10.
Oh, absolutely. Just thrashing your throat. But it's like you get so hyped because you feed off of that energy from the crowd and you get people going and people are screaming back at you and singing back at you, dude. It's so good. You're just jumping out in the crowd and just crowd surfing. It feels so good.
I would love to do that. I can't with
dude.
my current situation because I have to stand behind drums, but that sounds pretty cool.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. That was our main thing with 90s Kids is that we would have people come out and crowd surf. And I would try to get as many people get up on stage and jump off of it as possible.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I jumped off stage a lot. That was probably the most crowd surfing I've done was with that band. Because we were intentional about it. We were like, let's make this a concert experience. You
And
know
part
what
of
I'm
the
saying?
show, like
let's
people
make it
know
part of the show. Yeah.
they do this on 90 Kids shows.
Because you don't get that as much anymore, man. It's like the whole concert vibe is just kind of really been like the last couple years. Even like professional shows I've gone out and seen of bands that are, you know, far more successful than I. They've got all these barricades now between the stage, between the artists and the people. And it's like, dude, I get it. There's a safety precaution to this situation, but give us a concert experience, you know? Let people jump off the stage under their own free will and their own insurance policies, okay? You know what I'm saying? And, like, let them experience the show because there's nothing like that feeling, oh, man, of just really headbanging and just enjoying a show, jumping off the stage into a crowd of people and surfing or, you know, getting in a mosh pit and just banging yourself around a little bit.
What were the venues? I mean, were they like, listen, man, you can't be doing that? Or were they cool with it? Or did you just do it and then, you know, whatever?
You know, surprisingly, a majority of the venues never said anything to me about it. There was a couple times that they were like, hey, Matt, if you're going to jump off the stage, don't jump off of this. Or, you know, or watch out for this. And we prefer you not bring people up on stage to jump off, okay? Which, you know, sometimes I obeyed those, you know, suggestions, and sometimes I did not.
Were there ever low ceilings?
Yeah. Oh, we used to play at the Mill. They have some rafters that come down right above the stage, and I would jump onto those rafters and grab and kind of shimmy my way over and then just jump off. And there was another guy, Zach Davis, who was climbing up on the rafters, and he jumped off the rafters as well and did some crowd surfing during a 90s Kids show out there. I think it was 90 to 500 Fest was when that was going down. That was a really good time.
I one time played at this super redneck bar in this super redneck town. I will not name either the bar or the town. And they had probably 8-foot ceilings. And I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm about 6'4". So I was, you know, you don't think about that because most of the time you're not in a situation where the ceiling's, you know, 8 foot high.
Yeah.
So I took the guitar off and like put a hole in their ceiling.
Oh, no.
It wasn't real bad, but I was
Nice.
like, yeah, we're just going to not bring this up and I'm just going to get the heck out of here tonight.
Right.
But yeah, so I could imagine maybe getting excited and forgetting where you're at and then like totally nailing a rafter or something.
Oh, right.
You know.
Oh, dude, the chandelier room in Sesser, what 90s Kids played a show out there, we had to have them remove the chandelier because it was definitely going to get, you know, heads hitting it from jumping around and crowd involvement and us on stage, or it wasn't stage, it was a concrete show, which are always one of the most awesome, like, punk rock feeling shows when you're standing on concrete and people just standing right in front of you.
Dude, that's so old school too.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
love it. Love those shows. Those were great. There was another show we played like that at the Elks in Marion. 90s kids played at the Elks because we were supposed to play an outdoor show, but it got rained out. So they were like, oh, let's just move you to indoors here. And that was awesome. Not low ceilings, but concrete show. Like, we're just standing on the concrete. That was cool.
Yeah, man, you have a great stage presence.
Thanks, man. Which, by the way, you're a beast too. I know you've been complimenting me. I want to go ahead and just give you your flowers here real quick. You're one of the best in the business doing it right now. You realize that?
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's the truth. You're definitely up there towards the top, man.
Well, thank you.
If not the tippity top. You know what I'm saying? Because you're killing it. I mean, you play all throughout the week. Your variety of not only instruments that you play, but songs that you play is like unmatched around our area. I don't even know how you pull some of that stuff off. Like, it's super impressive. Yeah, but yeah, your ability to play multiple instruments, your ability to sing multiple songs, it's super impressive, brother.
Thanks, man.
I shout you out every chance I can.
Well, I appreciate that. And I want to say, I mean, I was going to tell this story anyways, but I first started coming up here, I was super familiar with the Paducah area, but everyone would be like, hey, do you know Matt Basler? Do you know Chris Sloan? And probably a few other guys. But I remember my first interaction kind of outside of a show setting with you guys. I had gotten on the stage at Heron Fest, and I was going to be opening up the night that the Beach Boys played.
Nice.
So I was like super nervous, to be honest with you. But I remember I was at Casey's in Heron, and you guys pulled up. And you guys knew who I was. You were like, hey, there's Corey Evans. And you were both just total bros. You're like, what's up, dude? What are you up to? And I just realized, like, because I always had in my head, this is going to be mega competitive up here.
Right.
So it's going to be like this thing where we're all competing for the same spots. But it totally wasn't like that.
I know.
And you guys were super cool. And then you pretty much been my friends ever since. And that brings me to another thing I really want to discuss. You, as much as anyone I know, you do so much for all the musicians in the area, and you actually started a thread, a group chat. I don't know how many people we have in that chat, like 35, 40 people maybe,
Probably,
50 people.
yeah, probably.
But so many of the local musicians from Southern Illinois and Paducah are in this chat that Matt started specifically so we can all help each other out, and Matt is the leader of it. I mean, he doesn't claim to be that, but he is. He's the one facilitating things and kind of monitoring, making sure no one gets out of line, but making sure everyone's taken care of. So outside of being a very talented guy and being a great performer, that's my favorite thing about you, man, is you look out for all the other musicians. It's not a competition at all. It's a collaboration, and you, as much as anybody in this area, you're responsible for that, man.
Well, dude, I appreciate it. I really have tried to build a music community and not have it based around competition. I remember so much in my youth. It was so like this competitive thing was like, dude, it's not competitive. You do something totally unique. Every musician is unique in their own stage presence and their expression and their projection and the song choices, and the songs that you choose to play, whether you are doing songs specifically as crowd pleasers or if you're doing songs that you like to play, and that it comes out really in the performance, in my opinion. I can always tell when an artist is playing a song they really like to play because you can see it, you can feel it better. But yeah, I try to tell musicians all the time, this is not a competition. There is no competition. I will help you get shows. You can help me get shows. We can work together and we can both be successful. Everyone can eat. There's plenty of places to play. And you can't play the same spot every night. You can't.
Right.
You shouldn't play the same spot every night, every week. You shouldn't play the same spot every month. I mean, you should try to. I mean, you know as well as I do. You should space out your shows. You should space out the towns you play, so that you don't overplay an area and you don't become stale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this man means all of this. A lot of people will say this stuff in front of a camera or whatever, or when asked about things. Matt means this, and not only is he like helping people from a career standpoint. But if anyone has just had an issue, you know, someone's having trouble in their personal life, Matt will be the one to go to bat for them in the group chat. He will bring it up. Hey, so-and-so had their van broken into. Hey, how about we all just chip in $10 and get them a new amplifier?
Right.
So I can tell you
right.
guys, everything he's saying right now, he puts his money where his mouth is, and he shows up for all of us. And I've told you that before in the group, like I've thanked you publicly in front of the group, but it's just important to me to put that out there today, because that's, to me, when I think of you, you're a good friend, but dude, that's the most impressive thing to me about you. And yes, all the music stuff is awesome, but dude, you're a good man. So
Thanks,
just
man.
want to tell you that. Thanks for being that guy.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to see musicians rally around people in our community that are suffering, other musicians that are suffering. Matt Hayes just recently lost his home to a house fire. Tons of musicians got together and rallied around. I would have loved to have been at that event. I was playing a wedding for that event, so I couldn't exactly cancel that gig and get to the, but it was awesome. He raised a lot of money for his family. Everybody around the local community came together and helped out. A lot of musicians played. It was great. Shout out to the Granada for hosting the event, and I know Corey Newcomb headed a lot of that as well, so shout out to Corey Newcomb as well for heading up a lot of that and organizing a lot of that. And they're working on getting Matt Hayes a new home, and yeah, we're just trying to help the brother out, and it's great to do that as a community, to help out as many people as we can. I know that I've headed up some events that we've done that have helped people in our community suffering, and I'm fully willing to help out in any other kind of activities that are created, or any benefits, or you know, anything that's created to try to help people that are suffering in our community. And we talked about possibly putting something together like that too, so stay tuned for that. We're looking to keep this going and try to create as many events that we can to help our local community and even further out.
100%. Now, let's talk about your album, because we've talked about your formation, and then you had several other jobs and a few careers.
Yeah.
You went full-time, and you've been the guy you've been a working musician, played in multiple bands, done the solo thing. But then in the last, say, 2 years, you have made the decision to start doing more of your own original stuff.
Absolutely.
You recorded a full-length album called
Yep.
Madness, and then you have stepped back from 90s Kids, which was your most recent, probably biggest band you were in.
Right.
And you're really focusing on the original music. So let's just get all into that, man. Talk to me about the process of making that decision and the recording of the album. Just talk me through it.
Okay, told my wife, I was like, hey, I gotta record an album. That's like one of the things I need to do. I need to do it for myself. I don't want to look back on my life and not have recorded these songs that I have, you know, because there's nothing otherwise I just die with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a product to show anybody. And a lot of times people would ask me that too. You know, I tell them I'm a musician. They're like, oh, cool. Well, is there anything I can listen to you on? And I'm like, no. You know, I didn't have any kind of recordings or anything like that. Maybe some YouTube videos, but they weren't like anything professional. So I was like, yeah, I want to record this album. So I started planning it. I did a GoFundMe to build up some funds for me to have this album. But before doing the whole GoFundMe thing and trying to set it up monetarily, I was like, man, I got to think about who I want on this album. So number one, I started looking around at what recording studios I could use in Southern Illinois around home, and then also looking around at what musicians I wanted. I knew right off the jump that I wanted Big Country, Daniel Morris, to play bass and possibly lead guitar, because he's a phenomenal musician. I knew I wanted him on the album. So before calling him, though, I was asking around different recording studios, and I had talked to a couple around here, and the price range was pretty high, which, you know, full-blown respect to that, because, I mean, they're doing a lot of work, and they've got to make their money as well. I just am a poor person, you know, so was trying to figure out a way I could do it most cost-effectively. And I had already written all these songs. I had these songs written for 10 plus years and not recorded them. So I was fully aware of how I wanted the song to sound, its composition entirely, and what I needed from a drummer and what I needed from a bass player and all that. And I knew how I wanted to sing it. So had all the composition in mind and was ready for that. So then I talked to Daniel, I talked to Big Country, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to record this album. I want you on it. Can you do it? And he said, hell yeah, you know I got you. And I was like, of course, my bro. Because we did Boz and Country show as well back in the day. We did an acoustic duo together when he lived here in Southern Illinois. And so anyway, he said, hell yes, we're going to do it. He was like, where are you going to record it at? I said, well, man, I've looked at a couple of recording studios around here. I was going to check Nashville too, but they all seem like they're pretty expensive. So I'm going to have to try to do this GoFundMe and try to build up some funds and maybe take out a loan or something like that. He was like, bro, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I have this guy in Norway that has a recording studio and we could go out there and record it. And I was like, dude, you're telling me we're going to go record an album in Norway and it's going to be cheaper than me recording it here in the States? He's like, yes. And I was like, no way. And I was like, is it a good studio? He's like, dude, it's an amazing studio. He's like, they have some of the best equipment there. It's a top-line studio. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, if you want to check with your buddy, because it was one of his childhood friends, he's known for a long time. And the studio had just recently opened up, and they were kind of looking to get people in and, I guess, get some work done. So, he talked to him, Ola Langley, from Norway, from Sunnadal, Norway. It's a small town in Sunnadal, or in Norway, called Sunnadal. And, yeah, he hit him up. He said absolutely. We linked up on Messenger, talked to him, told him what I wanted to do, gave him the whole spiel, and then we booked our flights, and the rest is history, you know what I'm saying?
How long did it take to record the album?
We recorded the album in like 4 days.
So y'all just flew out there,
Yep.
got right to work, and flew back home.
I had sent him some of the scratch tracks of what it was supposed to sound like. I was like, we don't have a drummer. That's really all we really need. And they had a drummer there. So his name was Gard. And so, yeah, paid him to play drums. He did a great job. And, yeah, went out there and recorded the album. It was fantastic.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I told my wife, I was like, hey, babe, I remember bringing this up to her, and I remember her face. I can almost picture it perfectly. I was like, hey, so you remember I was talking about recording the album, right? And she was like, yeah. I was like, all right, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but what would you say if I said I had a chance to go record an album in Norway? She was like, all right, Norway? I was like, yeah, the country, Norway. She's like, how? And so I explained the whole situation with Big Country, with Daniel. And yeah, that's just what we did.
See, I didn't know that. I knew that guy had, like, I guess, mixed the album. Because you had posted, shout out to my guy, and I'm not going to even attempt his name.
Ola Langley, yeah.
But you're like, shout out to him for making my album sound so good. So
yeah.
I thought, Matt recorded all this stuff, and then this dude's like mixing it or mastering it, which I've done that before. I used to send tracks to a guy in New Zealand,
oh, nice.
And he was super cheap. He was charging like $50 a track to master things.
Nice.
But that's what I thought. I had no clue you actually went out there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I was out there for a week, or not even a full week, I don't think. But yeah, we got the album done in that short a time. Because I mean, we would wake up, and we were staying in this kind of house that was right across the street from, and by street I mean driveway. It was right across the driveway of the recording studio. It was right there on the property. So I would wake up and put my clothes on and go walk over to the studio. I'd wake up and get a little breakfast first at the house because their family lived right there too. Walk over there and have a Norwegian breakfast, which was kind of like a delicious charcuterie board.
That's what I was going to ask. What does that consist of?
Yeah, I was always used to, the standard American breakfast, I guess, of like bacon, eggs, toast, stuff like that. They had eggs, but they didn't do it in a way that was, I guess, like that you would expect it to be in our version. But I would just make it our version. Like, so I would grab a piece of bread and an egg and some of the cheese and just eat it, which was so good, dude. And I really miss it now. I did not appreciate it enough while I was there, but I would do anything to have a little Norwegian breakfast again sometime soon, which hopefully I get a chance to go back out there and record. I'll have to talk to those guys, because that would be something I would absolutely do again. It was just a great experience.
Do you think it's because their food is not like hyper processed?
Probably.
Way ours
Probably. And I'm so tired of us as the American people knowing that our food is not appropriately made, and we just keep eating it, and like nothing's happening. It's like, and they talked about how the dyes are being outlawed or being banned in several of the states, but then I've heard they're just going to change the name of that.
Probably.
And it's just still going to be used in our food. I just don't understand it. Like, it's one of the things that just blows my mind. But we could go on about that for hours.
Totally. We could have a whole episode.
Right.
We probably shouldn't. So, the album, how can people find that? You're on just all the streaming services?
Yep, through DistroKid. DistroKid blasts it out to Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It's available on all streaming platforms. And I have it on CD, and I have it pressed to vinyl.
Okay, so go ahead and spell your name for people.
Mattbasler.
That's where people are going to go wrong, because it's Basler,
Yep.
and if you try to go phonetically, it's not Bozzler.
Right,
it's Basler. I have mispronounced your name in the past and called you Basler or Basler, because that's what people say.
Yeah.
But it's actually Basler, but
Yep.
Basler, and the album is Madness.
That's right.
So you're going to search that. Listen, here's what you're going to do. Don't go to Spotify. Don't do that. Don't do YouTube Music. Go to the Apple Store, the iTunes Store. If you have an iPhone or an Apple product like a Mac or whatever, you can go to the iTunes Store. Don't go to Apple Music, and buy Matt's album. Okay? If you want to support him whatsoever, please do this. Trust me, we don't make any money basically off of anything else. So Spotify, if everyone who hears this plus an additional 10 million people start streaming his album on Spotify, Matt's going to get $57 for that. Don't do that. And don't just go to Apple Music, because see, a lot of people will be like, yeah, man, I stream it on Apple. No. When you have Apple Music, you're paying like whatever it is a month, and you're getting everything for like $10 a month. But if you believe in what Matt's doing, purchase his album on the iTunes Store, because then he will actually get most of that money. Through the service he's using, DistroKid, they will make sure he gets most of the money from the iTunes Store. So please do that. And then if they want to find you on just social media in general, what are the names of your music pages?
All my music pages are Matt Basler Music. So same spelling, it's just music at the end. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I have my own website, mattbasler.com. And you know what's really funny about this situation? People will look this up, and they will find Matt F. Basler, who is a musician out of St. Louis. Matt F. Basler.
That's right, and that dude's on iTunes as well.
Yes, and dude, he is awesome too. So really, it's a win-win situation. If you find me or you find him, it's still good, because Matt F. Basler, shout out to him as well. He's fantastic. He's got a lot of great songs out there, but just know that we are different people, and that we do different songs and stuff. Which, by the way, we talk about all this streaming stuff. You remember back in the day when we used to try to steal music? How we had to do it?
I was paying a dude at school to burn me CDs.
Yeah.
Named LP McCree. Sorry, LP. Probably shouldn't have named you.
Name
Statute
drop.
of limitations.
That's
We're
it.
good.
They just raided his house, and he's under arrest now.
Yeah, he's black SUVs.
It was Metallica, though.
Yes.
Metallica just kicked open his door like, "You! We've been looking for you." But no, back in the day, man, we had to ruin family computers with Napster and LimeWire. Nowadays, kids just out there just, using Spotify and stuff, and not enough kids have ruined family computers. And it really shows.
Yeah, they're ruining phones with websites, but they're getting bugs on phones. So we had this thing when that first became a deal, like burning CDs, right? I thought there was another kid in my 8th grade class named Jared. Shout out to Jared. Won't say his last name, but Jared from Metropolis. He was charging people like $5. And so I just thought Jared had compiled this amazing library of music on CD, and people were giving him like 15 songs, like, all right, dude, I need Back That Thing Up by Juvenile, I Need I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys, and I thought he was going home and sticking a CD in one deck and putting a blank CD in another one and just playing it one time and recording onto a CD. So that tells you how much of a rube and how much of a hick I was at that time. I didn't even understand that people were going to websites and doing this. But then the following year, that had kind of blown up. Napster had become this huge deal. And so this kid in my class, we had English together in the 9th grade, LP, I think he charged me $5. But dude, he was getting obscure stuff, like the theme to the TV show Alf. Like,
wow.
I remember he burned me a CD. He had like MXPX and AC/DC and the Alf theme song and probably something off like a video game. Like, this dude had access to it all.
Those are relics now.
Yes. And I remember
Beautiful treasures.
we all hated Lars Ulrich from Metallica because we thought he was a whiny little bee for just wanting more money. But now I look back and I'm like, okay, yes, they were already millionaires, but Lars was right.
Yeah.
Like, Lars was actually right, and he was already thinking, I guess, into the future.
Yeah.
At least I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And he kind of saw where this was going, and he was right. And now none of us make any money, basically, unless you go and purchase it.
Yeah.
But
you got to tour pretty much to make any money now, which then you're still spending money because you're going on tour. It costs money to tour. So, yeah, it's like you're just hoping to try to sell more than what you have to spend.
Also, I realize I've been super animated today, like really passionate. It's because of the caffeine. So before I picked Matt up, I chugged a Celsius, and then I was like, hey man, you want coffee? And we went to, the Bucks, and I got an Americano with espresso shots. And so I realized I'm talking loudly and I'm animated and I'm using my hands, but it's because I'm jacked up on caffeine.
I like it though, man. I like that. That's how I try to do all my shows too. I try to try to give people a show. You know what I'm saying? That's what this whole thing's about. So many artists, I feel like, will just try not to mess up their songs. They're trying to just get out there and just play their songs well. And, like, that's a good part of the show. You want to play your songs well, but you got to deliver, man. You got to deliver a show.
You got to come with that energy. And I'm a guy that uses caffeine to my advantage. But I'm also just passionate about you, man. I knew you were going to be on today. I knew we were bros. We were going to have a fun conversation.
Absolutely, man.
And just to kind of wrap everything up, man, I believe in you and what you're doing. And you've really helped a lot of us out and gone out of your way because you're just a good guy. And I want people to go get your album. It's called Madness. Make sure you check out his social media. Go watch him play. And I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks,
real
quick before we sign off, you have a beautiful wife and beautiful children, and that's probably the most important thing you got going on is being a dad and a husband. So you want to just kind of talk about your beautiful family real quick?
Yeah, sure. Shout out to my wife, Tanaka. We just had our 5-year anniversary. So much of what I do would not be possible without her support and her guidance and her keeping me grounded, keeping me kind of like, because I'm a doer, you know what I'm saying? I think about I want to do something, I'm like, let's just go. Let's just do it. Let's just go. And she's like, now wait a second, man. Calm down. Plan this out a little bit, okay? Have a plan in mind because you're going to come through some roadblocks here and there. And I was like, I'm always just like, no, let's just go. We'll just plow right through it, you know what I'm saying? Well, let's go. She's like, no, dude, have a plan. Calm down. Let's organize this a bit. So shout out to my wife for always being that for me. Shout out to my children, Magnolia, Isabella, and Kobe. Cannot believe how fast they're growing, how quickly they're growing. Being a parent is so much like winging it. So much. Like, I feel like half the time I look at Tanaka and I'm like, dude, we're just totally winging this thing. Like being a parent, you don't just like grow into being like, oh, I'm a parent. I have parent knowledge. You have to like go through a bunch of like process of, goods and bads and doing it right and doing it wrong and trying to learn and reflect on what you're doing as a parent to really try to figure out a good way of doing it. And talking to other parents, and having that community too, which I feel like would be really great if there was more of a presence of that as having parents get together and talk about how they're raising their kids. Because I feel like you talk about people talking about how they raise their kids, it's just immediately people get offended or they get defensive about it.
Oh yeah, dude, they like red alert.
Right, rather than like, hey, let's talk about what is working and what's not working, or which I get, everything's subjective, everybody's kids are different, but like, what are you doing that you feel like is helping you raise, successful, young, loving, caring children. You know what I'm saying? And like that's a big thing. But yeah, being a parent is absolutely one of the most important and one of the most difficult, but also one of the most difficult, pleasurable, gifting experiences that helps you grow as a person personally, and, you know, helps you just develop, I guess, into somebody who can, I don't know, I feel like I'm just talking in circles here. It's really hard to explain. So much of it is just really hard to explain, and so and not even, you're never really educated on it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're never really taught how to be a good parent. It's like you just go through it and just try to figure it out as you're going along, you know? All of us are just like guessing about what we're doing as a parent and whether or not we're doing it correctly.
And I'm nodding like I know. I mean, I don't have kids. I never have been married. I have no kids. But I hear this from everyone that, like, nothing can prepare you for how it actually is when you have kids. No, like, you think you know, and then there's literally no one size fits all. Like, you have 3 children, they're all 3 going to be different. What works with the oldest will not work with the middle or youngest child. I hear this from everybody, so that's why I'm nodding and smiling, but it's not like I know from experience.
And don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful, awesome, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's parenting, but it's also extremely difficult. It provides you so much anxiety and constantly worrying about whether or not you're doing it right or whether or not your kids are all right. And a lot of it just kind of strips away any sense of self that you have as well, because you're intentional about putting your children and your family ahead of yourself, as it should be. But in doing that, you lose a lot of yourself. And that's a constant struggle as well, is that you try to maintain yourself, your sense of self in your relationship with your wife or your spouse. It's a beautiful and painful thing all at once. It's beautifully ironic, I guess.
Well, y'all are a family of Packer fans, so I'm going to ask you. This is my last question I'm going to ask. All right. Let's just say, and I'm not trying to speak this evil on you, but let's just say 10 years from now, Colby comes home and says, I think I'm a Bears fan.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I mean, how are you going to handle it? I'm not saying it will happen, but let's just say it did. What do? Do you say no son of mine? Do you throw a glass down? Do you cry? Take me through that.
I tell you what, I'm so passionate about my sports fanness, which I used to be insane about it, which I've dialed it down, because you shouldn't allow stuff you can't control to make you that upset.
Believe me, I know. I hear you.
Right? So whatever team they want to support, I'm totally fine with that. I will just be like, you know what? It's your choice. I'm not going to make you follow any team. So if you think you like another team, or you like a player on another team or whatnot, you go for it. You go for it. I've got my fanness. I know why I'm a Packers fan. I'm a Packers fan because of Brett Favre. That was like one of the first quarterbacks I really sat down and watched in my youth, and I just had mad respect for him, and then just got to know more and more about the Packers organization, and that's why I'm a big fan of theirs now. And so same thing with my kids. Maybe there's another quarterback that comes up, and my son watches him and is like, man, I really like this guy. Who am I to be like, no, bro, you're a Packers fan, okay? Because I'm a Packers fan. I'll let them pick whoever they like.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, again, I've never had kids. I may struggle with that. Like, one of my nephews, he likes to be cute, and he'll be like, UK sucks. And nice. I'm like, so I don't know, man. I don't know. It might be like, hey, yeah, it's fine, dude. You want to be a New York Mets fan? You want to be a Louisville fan? You do that, and then we'll just figure out where you're going to stay and how you're going to get fed.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't know if I can be as big of a man as you're claiming you're going to be. So. Right.
Well, we'll just see how it works out.
We'll see how it works out. Well, bro, I'm excited for you, man. I'm going to have to drop you off. You got a show today, but I really appreciate you coming on, and just thank you for being who you are, bro.
Dude, thank you for being who you are. And guys, keep checking out this podcast. I mean, you've had a ton of awesome guests on here. I've learned a lot through several of your podcasts, so yeah, super educational. I wish I could have provided more education. I just feel like I'm not really worth much other than, where do you want to get a gig at, and do you need to know what chords are in this song? I might be able to help out with something like that.
Oh, brother,
But,
if they contact you, which I'm not encouraging people to just contact him to ask random questions, but
right.
this guy, I mean, if you're an upcoming musician, this dude right here, like, he knows.
I would love to bet if I can help any kids form bands and be involved in the music community around here, that would be amazing. So if I can do that, if I can help out anybody looking to get involved in the music community around here, there's plenty of gigs to be had, man. There's plenty of gigs to be had. If you're somebody like Corey Evans and you want to get out there and put your nose to the grindstone, get out there and get to work, sky's the limit, baby.
The sky's the limit. Well, bro, you have a great show today.
Thanks, man.
And we got to hang out soon, brother.
Absolutely, dog.
Thank you,
Absolutely,
man.
I appreciate you, my man.
All right, guys. Well, I am back home in Paducah, and I had a tremendous time today hanging out with Matt in Marion and Heron, driving around Southern Illinois, and just getting to hear more of his story. And I want to thank him again. Thank you, Matt, for coming on the pod. But again, thank you for just being the guy that you are and for looking out for all of the other musicians. And, when you think about all the things that Matt does as a performer, but also as an advocate for all the other musicians, he is probably impacting the music scene in Southern Illinois as much or more than anyone else. So thank you, Matt. I really appreciate you, brother, and I hope you and your family have a tremendous Christmas. All right, guys. Well, real quickly, let me tell you about next week's episode. My favorite all-time person is coming on the pod, my mom. This is going to be our season finale next week, and I can't think of a better person to have on to wrap up season 1 and to celebrate Christmas with than my mother. So you don't want to miss that one. My mom has lived a fascinating life. She grew up as a hillbilly, didn't get running water until she was 21 years old, and she has lots of stories that she can tell about her family and about growing up in the country, and then also her career working at Big John's grocery store in Metropolis. So it's going to be a great conversation, no doubt. And also, it's very important that you tune in next week. I'm going to give you guys an update on my album. Now, originally, I had been pushing for the end of the year or possibly January 20th. We have made a decision, we being me and Toby and my boy Andrew, basically my team, we have made a decision to release that album in the spring. We feel like it'll give me a little more time to really nail the entire album, but it'll also give us time to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the recording of the album, and we'll be able to make more videos leading up to its release and do more promotion. So I'm going to be spending some time next week updating you on all of that and giving you all the details. So tune in next week to when I talk to my mom and when I update you guys on the album. And again, it is the season finale of Not a Rock Star. So this will be the last episode for a while next week. So tune in. All right, let me tell you about our first sponsor for this week, Just One More. Now, Just One More is a bar in Marion, Illinois, and if you tuned in last week, you got to meet the owner, Mr. Sammy Stilley. I can't say enough good things about Sammy. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, go back and watch that episode from literally just last week, December 9th. I love Just One More. I love playing there. They have a tremendous atmosphere, and it is one of those places that I would choose to go hang out there, even if I wasn't playing. I have done that multiple times. So you should definitely go to Just One More, and I'm going to tell you when you should go. Go on Friday night, because I am playing at Just One More in Marion, Illinois on Friday night, and we are having a big Christmas bash. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you come out Friday night, 7 to 10, Marion, Illinois, Just One More. All right, guys. And finally, before I sign off today, I want to talk about my second sponsor. He has been a sponsor of every one of these episodes, Mr. Toby Glass at Metropolis Music and Media. Now, most weeks I tell you about how great of a job Toby is doing with my podcast, but also everything else that he's got his hand in. And all of that's still true. Toby is your guy. If you need any type of media produced, or you need help with anything that has to do with a sound system or producing a video or promotional materials, Toby's your guy. But today I want to focus a little more on the man and what he means to me, and I want to talk a little bit here briefly about his family. Toby has been a part of my life since I was 16 years old. He was a youth pastor in Metropolis, and I met him while I was in high school, and from day one, I don't even really know why, Toby has always seen something in me and believed in me. And throughout our lives, we've had different jobs, and our paths have just kind of zigzagged, and we keep coming into contact with each other. But in the last few years, he's truly become one of my best friends I've ever had. And we're very close, and he's my closest work partner right now. And I can't say enough about him, his beautiful wife Lee, and their lovely, super intelligent daughter Ella. I just can't say enough about them as a family, and Toby's whole family, his father and mother and brother, sister. They're great people. I love the Glass family, but I am so grateful for Toby, and I want to make that very clear today, because next week is the season finale, and we're going to have all kinds of moving parts. I'm going to, again, talk about the album. I'm talking to my mom, so that might be a long conversation. So I want to just do this on this episode and tell Toby how much I love him and how grateful I am to him and his family, because it's not just Toby that has made sacrifices this year. It's his wife and his daughter as well, so we can get this podcast off the ground, and we can do a lot of other things that we have planned for the future. We're already laying the groundwork for all of that. So Toby, I love you, bro. And guys, make sure you contact him at Metropolis Music and Media for all your media needs. And lastly, I've been making a habit out of this every week, but I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We have a super, super small audience right now, but we are going to be putting in the work next year when we come back to make this podcast bigger, badder, bolder, better. And we're going to keep doing everything we can to improve our quality. But also, I'm going to put in the work to keep bringing you a wide variety of guests. And also, we're going to be offering more musical things next year. I'm grateful for you guys. I am motivated to give you the best product, because I know so many of you believe in me, and you're faithful to watch every week. And I really love and care about all of you as well. So thank you. Tune in next week to the season finale when I talk to my mom and tell you about the album. Remember, even though I'm not a rock star, because of all of you and my great friends and family, I live a rock and roll life. I'll see you guys next week at that season finale.